What is up, my Lorcana Goons? Welcome back to the Lorcana Goons channel. My name is Kevin, and you're watching the Quest with a Guest podcast, hosted by Zach Stone and myself. On this week's episode, we are joined with none other than Ryan Burpee, aka RMB, the grandfather of Sapphire Steel. So if you've ever played Sapphire Steel in Lorcana, this format with Fishbone Quill and Hole in the World, you have RMB to thank for that. He's a member of Team Labyrinth. He's a TCG player of more than 20 years. He actually won a gold Mickey at the DLC in Atlanta, and he's a pretty big Disney fan as well. So we're going to pick his brain on how to play Sapphire Steel. We're going to go into a mulligan process at one point in this video. So stay tuned to Lorcana Goons for more. What is up, my Lorcana Goons, and welcome back to the Quest with a Guest podcast. I am joined with our co-host Zach Stone, and our guest this week is none other than the father of Blue Steel Zoolander himself, Ryan Burpee, aka RMB. How are you doing today, my friend?
Pretty good, man. It's Tuesday, so it's the worst day out of the week. Like, if you think about it, Monday's bad because it's Monday. Like, Wednesday's hump day, you're halfway through the week. Thursday's Friday Eve, and Friday's obviously Friday. Tuesday's just this day of the week that it's like, hey, I exist, I'm here. It's like second Monday.
Yeah, it's just stuck in the middle. Stuck in the middle, but we're here to make it just a little bit better. We do want to keep these good Lorcana vibes up, especially now that we have set champs coming up this weekend. We have Fort Worth just around the corner, and we're here with somebody who's won a golden Mickey at these Disney Lorcana challenges already. So we do want to go over some personal stuff about how you play the game. What are you strategizing for the upcoming events, and also some more fun stuff as well, like your shirt, like the nice and the Beauty and the Beast right there. That's right. Is that one of your favorite Disney movies? Is that why you picked Blue Steel, because you have the ability to run both Belle and Beast?
Honestly, it's thematic. So the idea for Blue Steel or Zoolander Wheel or Sapphire Steel, whatever you want to call it, it's got a million names now. The idea behind it was, for starters, I saw a Whole New World when the spoiler season for set 1 happened. I was like, oh, this card's good. And then I was like, okay, how do I abuse this card? And then Fishbone Quill. And then I was like, okay, well, what's the payoff for this? And Belle, instant pay. I'm going to convert my entire first hand into an ink advantage. I'm going to get to 10 way earlier on in the game than anyone should be allowed to do so. And I played Mad Beasts, and then when we got Beast Tragic Hero printed, I was like, I get to play Belle and Beast in the same deck, and we got Cogsworth. The whole family's in here. The only sad part is I can't currently play Lumiere in the deck. Otherwise, I would.
Yeah, there's no Sapphire or Steel Lumiere, so come on. Yet. Come on, Team Lorcana, we're waiting for that in Shimmering Skies. But yeah, if you guys don't know, if you have not been playing since the first chapter, RMB over here, and I'm going to call you RMB because that's how I know you from your Twitter handle, and it was crazy to actually meet you in person, by the way, but I'll get into that. So RMB over here definitely was peddling the Sapphire Steel agenda. I like to call it, in the first chapter. And in the first chapter, there was mainly 2 decks people were playing. It was Ruby Amethyst, which was a hyper-control deck, and those mirror matches were just unfun. And then you had Amber Steel Wheel, which I thought was the best deck because you were using, like you just said, a card that is very powerful, known as Whole New World, which we all know what it does. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. It's known for being the wheel because it's a reference to Magic the Gathering, another card, and there's even cards in other card games that kind of have this kind of a wheel type effect too, and they're usually very good. Like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zaxxon, we have Card Destruction, a very similar card, which is banned and limited to 1. But you were able to capitalize on this card, combine it with Sapphire, which was a color that nobody was using in set 1, and you saw a lot of results right off the bat, right? I think a lot of people were kind of just heavily relying on the online meta. What was it about Sapphire Steel in the very beginning that got you to say, you know what, I can run this? Where did it click for you?
First and foremost, a Whole New World's a broken card. Let's just make that perfectly clear. I fell in love with the deck color pairing because I don't know, so it's Blue Steel, so that's where the term Zoolander came from. It's just called Zoolander. It's literally just Zoolander.
Yeah, it's Zoolander, right? Yeah.
Derek Zoolander. Yeah, a little bit of a brain.
The modeling movie, right?
I thought that movie was absolutely hilarious, and so Blue Steel, the iconic face. I was like, okay. I played it all. I've been playing it since day 1. It was the first deck that I ever built. So I played it all through set 1, where red purple was just the best deck by an extremely wide margin. The reason that I found success with Blue Steel is it's a deck that if you pilot it properly, it can beat absolutely anything. So like while red purple was a very very difficult matchup, if you were just a better player than your opponent, you could outplay most red purple opponents. And it also had like I think I had like a 90% win rate against Amber Steel. And considering those were the two decks in the format, it was like you either play Amber Steel or you play red purple, or you can like just get really really good at overutilizing cards past their potential and just like big brain your opponent. In set one, it was very different because there was this like awkward synergy where you would essentially get to a stage in the game where you would just ink your entire hand with fishbone quills and you'd activate multiple beast mirrors to like gain your own level of card advantage rather than like giving your red purple opponent a fresh, fresh hand. But like that matchup was super super skill intensive. Like if you pilot like I've said this a million times and I'll say it again. Like blue steel is not one of those decks that you can just pick up and just find success with. If
Mm-hmm.
you put the reps in on it, it is very very rewarding. However, if you make any play mistakes, if you miss sequence, if you know make a micro decision and it's not the correct decision, like it's the difference between you winning the game and losing the game. You don't have a automatic reset button like be prepared. Like
Mm-hmm.
the red blue deck and the blue steel deck are doing two very very similar things. The difference is that you can make more play mistakes with the red blue deck and still win. You make a play mistake with blue steel and you just lose.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's a lot of forgiving cards in Lorcana. I like to say, and I've always felt like Sapphire Steel is probably one of the harder decks to master. It's one of the decks where when I would play it and try it out, whenever I would lose, I kept asking myself like, why did I lose? Like, where did I lose? And it's also one of those decks where sometimes you have to see your win condition like 4 turns ahead. Kind of predict your top decks. It's a very good deck. Super powerful, man. I know you've been playing with it a lot. I mean, is it your go-to deck? Do you think it's good in every format, or is there kind of a situation where, a meta maybe locally where you might not run it?
Here's the thing. Every single event that I have ever topped, every comp REL event outside of like a couple of set champs, I have sleeved blue steel. I currently have 9 1K plus top eights, including like multiple first place, second places, all the way through top eight. I top eight at Atlanta with it. I played the only comp REL events that I have played where it wasn't exactly blue steel were 2 set champs. The first set champ I played in for the Stitch events, I played green steel. Ended up getting ninth with green steel. Lost my win and into the mirror, unfortunately. And then I played I played in like a really small one that ended up being like one of the hardest events that I've ever played in my entire life because the field was so stacked. Like it was a 16-person event on a Tuesday afternoon, and some of the names that were in attendance was Brendan DeCandio, Humble, Corey Patrick,
Hmm.
Ben Stevens, John Sweet, Vincent Daniels. Like the room was just like absolutely stacked. It was infinitely harder than like my rounds 1 through 9 in Atlanta. Like every single round I played against like a very, very, very good player. It was like imagine if you were playing your top 16 match to get into top 8, but every single round. That's what that event was.
Hmm.
I played red purple for that event, and then I just paired it. It was 4 rounds. My first 3 rounds were all red purple mirrors. And like I wasn't like super comfortable playing red purple in the first place, but like I was like, you know what? Like I've been playing blue steel for so long, like let me try some other stuff out. Instantly went back to blue steel the next event. It's like it's not for
Yeah.
me. It's not for me.
Totally, yeah. Kevin and I have been playing since the first chapter, so we're like totally reminiscent of all those formats, those decks, those color combinations. And going forward, we're definitely looking forward to that future of the game. But do you have any other prior card game experiences, or is this your first TCG?
I've been playing TCGs for over 2 decades now. A little bit longer than I care to say because it kind of dates myself a little bit. Don't want to tell you guys exactly how old I am, but the first time I ever picked up cards was like I used to collect Pokemon as a kid, but I never played the game. One of my best friends growing up, his older brother played Magic the Gathering, so like he had just a ton of cards, and we'd sit there on the living room floor building our little elf decks and stuff. Like I played back in like Onslaught block when Yu-Gi-Oh first came out. Like the show, like that's a piece of my childhood.
Yeah.
So like I used to watch the show, and when the card game came out here in America, I was like, yeah, I'm playing this. So like I jumped into Yu-Gi-Oh right at the beginning. I played up until, what was the first set that had like Yatagrasu, Injection Fairy, Lily? Like I played up until that set.
Okay.
And at the time I was playing a Yata Lockdown deck that had Yatagrasu and Gravity Bind. I was just trying to like not let your opponent have fun. And like I played that up until they restricted Yatagrasu to 1 per deck.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, my favorite deck is done. So I ended up going back to Magic. I got really, really competitive. Like when I came back into Magic, I was in Magic around like Time Spiral, Future Sight, Cold Snap block, and like right when M10 came out. And once Lorwyn block hit, like I was hook, line, and sinkered. Like I jumped in with both feet, like no turning back. Like Lorwyn block is really what kind of set my Magic career forward. Started going to opens, GPs, invitational qualifiers, qualified for the Pro Tour, went to the Pro Tour, found out how bad I really was. Like everybody else was just like way better than me. And I played all the way up until like 2013, 2014. I took a few years off, came back right when like after the pandemic like concluded, so to speak, and like things started kind of going back to like semi-normalish. Magic had they had announced that they were like restarting up their Pro Tour and this new path to the Pro Tour, kind of with the regional championships. So like I jumped in feet first into that again, like after I had already sold my collection like 5 or 6 times. Qualified for the first regional championship, lost my winning into the Pro Tour against Seth Manfield, who's like a prolific, like probably like number 3 best player in the game. And then I qualified for every regional championship up until I decided to switch and come to Lorcana. Like I've played a lot of games. I played Hearthstone. Like I've played a bunch of TCGs, and I can honestly say, out of all of them, like Lorcana is the most well designed. Not only that, it's with an IP that I can relate to. Like I'm playing with cards and characters that are iconic to my childhood. And like to me, like that's more like it's cool, like we're playing with like goblins and dragons and stuff, but like I get to play with Beast and Belle. Like, bro, sign me up.
I love that. I'm the same way. I am the same way. I think part of the reason why I was so obsessed with Yu-Gi-Oh when I was in like high school is because you grow up watching the show, and then you're kind of like, I want to play with these Yu-Gi-Oh cards. While I was looking at it in the show, and other card games are cool. But once Lorcana came out, it's kind of the same thing. I had taken a big break from card games too. I was kind of trying to come back into the community in this last couple years before Lorcana was even announced. It just wasn't hitting the same. I don't know what it was for me personally, but something about being able to know the characters, being able to play Mulans and Stitches and Rapunzels and all these characters, it makes it so much more so much easier transition, a smooth transition. But it sounds like you have been playing competitive card games for a long time. You have a lot of experience. Do you have any advice for players who are maybe like on that middle kind of that kind of middle ground where they play casually at locals, they want to win a set championship, or even to them they think I just want to top a set championship? Any advice do you give to players who maybe might pick up Sapphire Steel, or even might pick up a meta deck for the first time this set championship?
First and foremost, with anything, and not just TCGs in general, but really any hobby, any sport, gymnastics, whatever the case may be, the more time that you put into it, the more that you're going to get out of it. Like, I don't wish my lifestyle on anyone, because I eat, sleep, breathe, think, dream Lorcana. Like, I will wake up in the middle of the night and be like, I got this great idea for a deck list, and I'll like pull my phone out and hop on Dreamborn, and I'm like building a deck in the middle of the night. Like, it keeps me awake at night. So like I don't necessarily suggest going off the deep end like I have. I'm a hyper fixator, so Like, I can only have one hobby at a time. Right now, my hobby is Lorcana, so like everything I do revolves around Lorcana. But the more that you put into anything, the more that you're going to get out of it. You know, if you want to do well, one of the ways is practice. You know, go to your local game stores, play in leagues. You know, if you have multiple game stores in the area and they do leagues on different nights, you know, go to those. Find yourself like a decent play group. You know, for any of these events, really any deck can win. Well, I wouldn't say any deck. Like, don't show up with your like Eels deck thinking like you're just gonna like face roll everybody. But like realistically, like any of the, you know, tier 1, even like some of the tier 1.5 and even some of the tier 2 decks of the format,
Yeah.
Can win one of these events. Like, there are 3 things that are required to win an event. Number 1, you got to be a skillful player. Like, you're not just going to fumble your way into first places. Like, you have to be skillful. You have to understand your deck, understand, you know, the matchups, understand what your path to victory is. The second thing is sometimes picking the right deck for a weekend is super important. If you've picked something that kind of corners the meta really, really well, if you anticipate that meta, that can definitely be a big benefit. And the third thing, and this is the one that most people don't have a whole lot of say in, is luck.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, like you're not going to win any event without running hot for the day.
It has to be your day. It has to be your day. Yeah, you need a little bit of luck.
Yeah, it has to. You could be the best player, have the perfect deck, have only 10 uninkables in your deck, and like you mulligan 6 cards and 6 cards are just uninkable. Like, you just don't get to play the game. It doesn't make you a bad player necessarily. Yeah. Like, there is some level of luck, and like luck is the skill that like I usually don't have. And then the last thing I'll leave you guys with is pick a deck. Play it more. Play it even more. Don't hop around from deck to deck to deck trying to like, I'm going to do this week and I'm going to do this week. Like, pick a deck and stick with it. You will never understand the full potential that a deck has and understand all of the lines a deck has until you master that deck specifically. I will say you are going to, number 1, have a far better experience, probably enjoy it a little bit more if you take a deck that you are comfortable with, that you can pilot at 95% perfect versus just picking up the newest flavor of the week in the meta and operating at 65%. You're going to do better with the 95% perfect versus the 65% perfect.
Okay. Thanks, man. No, I feel like that's something that I hear a lot of like top players say consistently. A lot of the advice you just mentioned, practice is obviously one that's an underrated piece of advice, I think. And then picking a deck and sticking with it. You obviously hear people say all the time, if you know your matchup, if you're comfortable with the deck and you're worried about an event, you know, play the deck you're comfortable with instead of switching up. There are some players that, you know, are naturally, they can pick up a new deck and do very well with it. That's cool too. And when Pixelborn was around, I definitely just I play tested everything just so I know, but I really wasn't spending like a weekends on weekends practicing one deck and then switching to another. You know, I did it maybe like a little bit, but I kept going back to Ruby Amethyst. So Ruby Amethyst is like the same way I see it. That's like, you know, I love goats and rabbits, man. I can't. It's the most forgiving deck. I sometimes I'll admit I can be kind of a sloppy player, so I do need rabbits every now and then to just kind of make sure I can come back into the game, and that's what that does. But Sapphire Steel is not like that. It's extremely punishing. It's a deck that I play sometimes when I know there's a lot of Emerald Steel on ladder or something, or like I would take it for sure when there's a bunch of Emerald Steel at locals. But like, and having to play against that deck is definitely scary, because in the hands of the right player, I'm terrified. You know, when I see them start setting up lucky dimes and stuff like that, it starts making me a little worried. So I do want to go over your deck list real quick, because I have it right here. Set up. You are playing obviously Whole New World still, and there are some lists that are not playing Whole New World currently. What do you say to that, first of all?
So like, I going into set 4, this was the first time that I was ever like, do we actually need a Whole New World? Like, one of the best things about a Whole New World is the fact that you get to draw 7 cards. One of the worst things about a Whole New World is that your opponent also gets to draw 7 new cards.
Yeah.
So like, I started this set 4 meta off with 8 pop no wheel that was leveraging tools like Maurice's workshop for you to churn through your deck and just try to see if you could grind out that way. And one of the things that I recognize, number 1, is that my ink total wasn't reaching as high of levels that it has previously, you know, like 13, 15, 16, 17 ink. Like I wasn't consistently doing that in the no wheel version, and the explosiveness of the deck just isn't there without a whole new world. Like in previous sets, you know, your typical, you know, god draw, so to speak, was turn 1 popsicle, turn 2 smee, turn 3 fishbone quill, turn 4 play Cogsworth. Turn 5, play a bell from hand, ink the last of your cards, use Cogsworth to sing wheel, play another bell, ink another card. You could get to 10 ink on turn 5, turn 6 with 2 bells in play and just say go. Like if you're on the play, like your opponent's not winning. There's no card in existence that can come back from that when you're just like, oh yeah, I'll just casually gain 10 on turn 6 or gain 12 on turn 6. Like you're just not coming back from that. And that whole line is enabled by a whole new world. Like I've tried both of the lists. Whole new world allows you the opportunity to do the most unfair thing that the deck is capable of doing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Whole New World is just one of those cards that just does what it does. And going in more into your deck list, you know, you have some tech options here. I would like to call it Rise of the Titans, one copy of Smash. Yeah. So was a deck that, you know, I would like to call it more of your homebrew, but did you kind of build this like with your team at all?
For like previous events, I've had teammates that have hopped on to Blue Steel thinking like, because I'm like, guys, like I'm doing really well with Blue Steel right now, and they like play it and they're like, I don't have RMB brain, like I can't play it. Like everybody on the team you know, specializes in like very specific decks. Like Humble, for instance, he's like our Mufasa player. He like knows the deck incredibly well. He will test and tune it for specific metas to give him the best opportunity, you know, going into any given meta. Aaron is kind of a jack of all trades, but one thing that he specializes in is Amber Steel. Aaron Rubin, Lorcana bro, you know, no big deal. Like just name dropping a couple of absolute goats on my team.
A couple of the all stars.
Yeah, right. Like Kendall, no, I'm not. If I ever have a question about red purple, I go to him. Like simple as like I'm just like you, Kevin. I'll go to his Twitter, be like, oh, what is Kendall playing today? Like,
what has he been cooking? What has he been saying about the meta?
Like what does his list look like? So like everybody on the team, Bjornfoot's another one. Like
dude,
if you ever,
I love that guy.
I do too. If you ever need somebody with aggro brain, like if you're ever wondering, is there a viable aggro deck in the current meta? Bjornfoot's the one that will tell you yes, or yes there is, but no, it's not very good. Like he's that guy. So like, and like obviously I'm the Blue Steel guy. We all kind of, I think a lot of the time when it comes to these bigger events, like we all kind of gravitate towards whatever we're comfortable with, because again, like kind of like I said, you know, comfortability is key. I think it's more important than any of the other, you know, things to win an event. If you're comfortable on your deck, like Hendo will play red purple until he doesn't play the game anymore. Like I wholeheartedly believe that. It doesn't matter if it's the best deck in the format or the worst deck in the format. He's gonna play it and he's gonna find success with it because he knows everything about that. He has thousands and thousands of games on that deck.
Yeah.
But like I've had some of the team has tried Blue Steel. I think there was 3 of us that were on it in Atlanta. Obviously, like I did well with it. I think Bannable was also on it. He was on the bubble for top 64.
He had a topping record, right? He just didn't make the cut, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was on the bubble. Like he was tied with like the last 4 spots that made top 64. The same number of points, just worse breakers.
Unfortunate. But in general, I do have a stacked team. Like he did secure a Let It Go. You know, most of your team was in that top cut of that Atlanta challenge, which is expected to see. Like you just said, you know, you're name dropping all these great players, and it's not really about being cocky or anything. It's just about the confidence in your peers that you're surrounding yourself with. You know what I mean? And I often urge like new players in the game to make friends at your local community. You know, if you see players that are doing well, go up and talk to them. You know, ask them for trades, ask them for decklist advice. Not that it's, you know, I think most players in most TCGs are more than willing to like share their information with you. And I think that that's what I love about the card game community, especially Lorcana, is that we're always very much you know, in that vibe, in that scene. I remember when I met you, since we're talking about Atlanta, when I met you at Atlanta, like it was all good energy. You know, we're all very hyped because we're all doing well, and just seeing like people in Top Cut that not only I expected to see players that I respect, people that I call friends now. It's just like it's a very good energy, you know. And I think a lot of it does come with what you were saying. The practice we put into it, the amount of games we put into trying to win and be the best. Because I do think that's a very important. That's a very important part of playing card games. That there is the competitive scene. I love it so much, and that's the reason why I play. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But yeah, going back to your deck list and your team actually. How did the whole Team Labyrinth situation start? Like, it's yeah, because it wasn't around in the first chapter of Team Labyrinth. I think Manticore, Noah Mantor, was one of the people that got a lot of people together, which was cool.
We need to go back. We're going back in time a little bit. So first and foremost, Manticore was almost banned by me from the 20 lore server. And the reason he was almost banned is because he was like he wanted to host tournaments. Like, so he would hop in the 20 lore server, which I'm a moderator for,
Mhm.
and he would post like, oh, like I'm doing these tournaments at the same time while 20 lore was trying to get tournaments off the ground as well.
Yeah.
We're like, this, you can't really like, you can't plug your non-affiliated. So like he almost got a ban, and instead like we ended up talking with him, and we just made him the head tournament organizer for 20 lore.
Oh,
So
perfect.
like he started running the events through 20 lore. Became like an integral part of the community. I think a lot of the players that are on the team currently all used to play in his events. So he ended up hosting this 3v3 team unified event, which I love the format. You have 3 players, you have to use all 6 inks. Nobody can use the same color ink. It was myself, Sasuke, and Bjornfoot was that was my team. We ended up winning the 3v3 team unified. So like when Noah started, you know, kind of like, you know, I kind of want to build an organization. Like it was his idea. He's like, I want to create a super team of just some of like the best players. So he first approached the 3 of us, Sasuke, Bjornfoot, and myself, and was like, hey, I want to put this team together. You guys won the team unified together. Like, do you guys want to start a team? And we were like, yeah, like, of course we do. And then another player that was doing very, very well in a lot of the online series that were going on. He was doing really well in the Mishi Mondays. He was doing really well in the Manicore with Zenulos. So Zenulos was another, you know, like immediate pickup. And then we shortly thereafter we got Wonder. We picked up Lorcana bro, Aaron Rubin, which was he absolutely monumental pickup.
Oh yeah.
He's a teddy bear.
I love that guy. That guy's super cool. Love that guy. That guy's super cool.
Cool.
What was it? I talked to him for the first time online on an I think it was Y Breezy's I think it was the Lorcana After Dark, or it might have been even before it was called Lorcana After Dark, or it might have been Lumineers. But I talked to Aaron Rubin online, and he was so cool because he's one of the first people that was like, oh yeah, Lorcana Goons, yeah, thanks. He commented on one of the videos, and he was like, oh, thanks for covering my deck list and this and that. And I would always see his name pop up, and after like the 3rd time, I was like, yeah, this is Lorcana bro now. Like this everyone knows who this guy is because like his name pops up so often. You know what I mean?
Here's the funny thing. So I had no clue who the heck Lorcana bro was. No idea. I knew the name Aaron Rubin very, very well from Magic because like he played on the Pro Tour. Like I knew Aaron Rubin's success. So like I remember when the moment finally hit me. So like we were in like a heated conversation. I think back in it was set 3. It was either set 2 or set 3. I can't. They're all kind of like mixing in with one another. But either back in set 2 or set 3, there was a heated discussion in the 20 lore server in one of the threads talking about blue steel versus red purple at the time. Like I was advocating that I thought that the red purple matchup was like a very, very good matchup for blue steel, and everyone's saying that no, blue steel just auto loses to red purple, and I was like, okay, like, well, let's do an exhibition, and like everyone was like, all right, Lorcana bro versus RMB. Like I had no clue. I had no clue who the heck this person was. So like I ended up doing this like exhibition bout where we did 10 games, and I think like the final result was like I won 7-3. And then like a couple weeks later was the uh Hunter Burton Memorial
Uh-huh.
tournament, and Aaron Rubin was like just on screen crushing it all day. Ends up winning the event. And one of the commentators was like, "Oh man, Lorcana Bro's been absolutely crushing it today." For those of you that don't know, Lorcana Bro is Aaron Rubin, and I'm just
He's just
like I've been chatting with this dude so casually, like just communicating with him in a Discord server, and like, yeah, like I'd like disrespected this man, like the fact that he was like willing to do an exhibition bout with me,
yeah.
completely just like like I was like, yeah, like random red purple player, like bring it on, you peasant. And then like looking back on it, I'm like, bro, that was Aaron Rubin. Like, are you kidding me? Like, oh, like that was such a cool feeling.
I like that there, like Zach, you say it all the time. There's a bunch of different people from a bunch of different card games that play Lorcana. I didn't even know that Aaron Rubin was like a person in the Magic space like that. Like until afterward, obviously.
Yeah.
I know you have experience in Magic the Gathering. I've heard from a lot of Magic players too that when they get to the Pro Tour, it's a lot harder than it seems, I guess. Obviously you got a bunch of, and that's what I imagine the Continental National event is going to be for a lot of us. It's going to be a bunch of us that ended up in that top 16 all at one event. So it's going to be like super competitive, super cutthroat. How has that competitive Magic scene helped you in Lorcana? Any more advice there?
I would say that it doesn't necessarily matter if you played Magic or you played Yu-Gi-Oh, or you played Pokemon. Anyone that is coming into Lorcana from any other TCG is inherently going to have an upper leg or an advantage against casual. Like the thing that Lorcana has done is it's brought people that have never played a TCG in their entire life, and they're now playing TCGs. Like you're gonna be a little bit disadvantaged just because there are so many very talented TCG players out there that have been playing card games for a really long time, and there's certain fundamentals that people that are TCG veterans do not have to learn, like how to make micro decisions, understanding your path to victory. Like there's core concepts of like being good at TCGs, card advantage is king, like those types of things that more casual players are building decks in a way because they like the characters. Like so I'm not saying that like a casual person can't step into a game and do very, very well. Again, it's how much work you want to put into it is it's going to give you that much of a reward back. But yeah, like Magic helped me in a lot of ways, specifically for sequencing. Magic is really, really important for sequencing. Like you have, you know, 896 different points of passing priority going through like the different phases of a turn. Like, yeah, there's like 5 main key steps, but in between those like 5 main key steps, it's broken down into more steps. So like if you play a game that is built on that type of principle, it's going to help you when it comes to sequencing. I will say this: rule number 1 and step number 1 to sequencing, always draw first. I see players make that mistake super frequently, especially with Ruby Amethyst. People make that mistake all the time. They end up like inking something and then like doing something else and then they draw a card. I'm like, no, draw first. You want to have the most amount of information available possible before you make any decisions on inking, playing other cards, because it could completely change.
Yes, that is one of the biggest takeaways. That rule does apply into Yu-Gi-Oh as well. So yes, always draw first. Always kind of like check certain cards. You can always decide to like sing your friends on the other side, or you can even bounce your rabbit back. So there's some plays there. And always quest first if that's what you're planning on doing. Get all the value you can. And definitely keep in mind that like your decisions and inking is probably the most important part. Would you agree on that, RMB?
Yeah, ink decisions. So here's one of the things that like I've noticed pretty consistently is that people will ink in scenarios and situations where they don't actually have to ink. Like you're playing like I remember the first time I really saw it was when Set 2 first came out and the what was it the Amber Amethyst Hyper Aggro deck really kind of like stole the spotlight of the first like 2 to 3 weeks of that format. And like I would see these people like that had red purple brain that are like inking to like 5 and 6. I'm like, bro, your deck, you have nothing in your deck that costs more than 4. You can like skip inks. You could skip ink 3 for 2 turns because you just have a bunch of 1 and 2 drops. Like recognizing when you need to hold resources. Like that's the thing that I love about this game. It's a resource game. Like your hand is a resource. Your lore total is a resource. Your ink is a resource. Your board state is a resource. Like you see people, the biggest thing I see is that players will just kind of play the cards as they're drawn and like they're just trying to like interact with their opponent as often as possible. And like you have to kind of just take a step back and say, okay, how do I win this game?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how do I lose this game? How do I prevent my opponent from being able to win the game before I can win the game? Like, ask yourself those questions before you start making any decisions. Because, like, Zach Bivens said it really well when he kind of was going through his deck tech for the Amber Steel deck that he ended up securing 17th place in Chicago with, where he was saying, like, you know, we're running like 20, 21 uninkables. There, you have to, like, make decisions. Like, do I play this Mr. Smee or do I ink it because I have a 4-drop that I want to play in 2 turns? Like if I ink it now and I don't draw ink off the top of it, if I play it and I don't draw ink off the top of the deck, it is going to prevent me from reaching a critical ink point that allows me to actively play this game.
Yes, that is very important in a deck with a lot of uninkables. So Kevin does have on his screen a opening hand here. Now, being the Sapphire Steel god, I would go ahead and say, you know, what are some cards with this opening hand that you're keeping, you're putting back, and what are you also looking for?
Do we know what we're playing against?
No.
Let's just say we don't.
We do not.
Okay. So we have Rise of the Titans in hand, which is a tech option. Normally, you don't necessarily want to. I guess another question: are we on the play or on the draw?
We are on the draw. So player 2, the opponent is starting the game.
We are on the draw.
Yes.
Okay. So like we're missing ramp. It is a tech. So Rise of the Titans is a tech option. This might sound like kind of a surprise, but I'm always keeping at least 1 popsicle. I'm probably not keeping the second popsicle because I just don't need it, and I don't want to be forced into a situation where I have to ink it. We already have a turn 2 play in Smee. Depending on what matchup this is, if we're going into, you know, red-blue, the aggression from Smee usually can close out that game. If we're playing against red-purple, the Rise of the Titans is just, like, if they're trying to go Chernobog's Followers, Flynn, Sisu, Castle, like, that is a great card for that specific matchup. And if you'll know what your opponent's playing within the first 2 turns of the game. If it's not exactly that, it's great ink. I don't want Tinkerbell this early. You definitely don't want Lucky Dime this early. Tala's like an iffy keep, but we're really looking for like something super specific. What we're looking for is ramp. So I would get rid of Lucky Dime, Tinkerbell, Grandma Tala, and the Popsicle here. Just trying to give us like the most opportunity to A, have interaction if we are in one of those bad matchups, and B, we're looking for 1 jump ahead. Like we really want 1 jump ahead or Fishbone Quill to really kind of get the juices rolling, and then we're also looking for Haram.
All right, let's see if we get it. I really like that reasoning, by the way. Thank you. All right, look, we ended up getting some. What's it called? Some ramp here. The opponent inked Maui hero to all. So now, what does your brain go to? If you don't mind, we'll play this game out. So this is Ink Table. I don't know if you've seen this, but we're just playing against a pretty easy AI. And this is our new hand here. So obviously, I think the first place Popsicle, right? But what do we ink?
Yeah, we're definitely playing the Popsicle here. Tinkerbell is like a reasonable card, but we just don't necessarily need it right now. our opponent inked a Maui, so that tells us they could either be on red purple or red blue.
Yep.
By turn 2, hopefully we'll have a little bit better indicator of which one it is. I think that you're okay inking a Tinkerbell here and playing one of the popsicles.
All right, so now we'll play a popsicle. And we drew Cogsworth. That's the end of our turn.
Perfect.
So we're gonna pass there. All right, so they inked the second Maui and they played a Flynn. So our opponent, for being an AI, is playing pretty smart. They have not yet revealed what color they're playing against us, which is one thing I do like to mention. You know, I like to mention that kind of stuff. It's very important. So I think, well, no. Now what do you do? Do you play a Smear or one jump this turn? And what do you ink?
So the Flynn Rider tells us one thing very specific. It's not red blue. It's
really?
red purple.
Okay. You think so? Just because I've seen some of this playing the Flynn Rider, I think we saw somebody playing at the 10K, right? So I'm just, I get what you're saying. Yeah, the Flynn Rider for sure. That makes me want to say red purple.
Yeah, so we want to turn this Flynn Rider off. So we're keeping this Rise. We have to play the Smee here.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaves us with two options for ink. Either A, we're inking the second popsicle, or we're inking the Cogsworth. Cogsworth's not great in this matchup, but it does something very specific, which is allows us to go 3 to 5 with the Fishbone Quill, play it on 4, and have a Wheel Singer. So I think we're actually... I don't like doing this, but just because we have this dime in our hand, unfortunately, I would ink the popsicle and I would play our Smee to turn off the Flynn start of turn trigger.
Okay, well, I really like that play because my immediate thought is go one jump, or my immediate thought is I'm gonna ink the Cogsworth. Rise of the Titans, I definitely understand you want to keep it just in case it is a Ruby Amethyst. It could still be Ruby Sapphire, but obviously we know Flynn Rider to be in more Ruby Amethyst decks. But yeah, Rise of the Titans, I like keeping that. So you want to set up a board presence, counter the Flynn. They ink a Queen's Castle. Look at that. This Ruby Amethyst, you called it right, RMB, and I thought I was gonna get you with that too. I thought you were still gonna be questioning it. Okay, so you wanted to.
Hopefully they don't Sisu here.
Okay, right. So what's the play?
Oh, they didn't Sisu.
No, they didn't. They just passed. They just inked the castle and passed.
Yeah, this is gravy, baby, for us. So we're gonna sing the one jump with Smee.
Sing the one jump with Smee. All right, so we sing the one jump. We got a little ink right there, a little free ink. Always nice, nice.
We can ink the Cogsworth now.
Okay. You want to ditch the whole new world play?
No, we're still gonna do the whole new world play, but because we have both one jump and Fishbone Quill, we can get to a critical. I call it a critical ink point where we can reasonably hard cast the whole new world and not feel bad about it.
Okay. So you want to be able to hard play everything from now on, basically.
Pretty much. Like, we're putting our opponent on probably playing Castle next turn. I would use the Fishbone Quill on the Lucky Dime, and I would play this Fortisphere.
Okay. Yeah, just capitalizing on every card in your hand, all your ink resourcing, right? Like, you're using as much ink as possible with this play, and gaining as much ink as possible. Just kind of being like as fast as you can is what it feels like.
Pretty much. Like, we're going to get to a point where we're winning because we're casting bigger and better things faster than our opponent.
Okay, so
they play a goat.
They inked Brawl and they played a goat. And then he's just gonna trade the Flynn. Yeah, the AI'd be doing silly stuff, but
you got me, bro. So like we have to take into consideration B King Undisputed here. I think that reasonably we can ink the Let It Go, play the Cogsworth. We're not under a ton of pressure. Like we've been able to stave off a lot of the early aggression. A lot of what the red purple deck is good about right now is the fact that like if they just go like 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop castle, you're like in a pretty bad spot because they're just at like 15, 16 lore before you even get to start playing the game. So like if they have the B King Undisputed here, yeah, it sucks, but like we're still up to 6 ink. Next turn, theoretically, we can get to 8 ink, play the whole new world, and like still get to cast something for 3, which I don't hate.
Okay. Do you ink the Rise of the Titans here, or are you just like holding this just in case the castle comes down?
I'm still holding it. And there's 2 reasons why I'm holding it. Number 1 is because with Fishbone Quill, we can ink absolutely anything we draw, whether it's uninkable or inkable, and we can still ink the Rise of the Titans for turn. So like I will keep 2 cards in my hand if one of them is exactly inkable and the other one is the whole new world. Here, this is like this is just insane. So we're gonna ink the Rise of the Titan, hide the fact that we're inking a crab, and we're gonna sing A Whole New World.
Oh, okay, I see. So we're gonna ink the Rise of the Titans, you said, right? And then we're gonna use Fishbone, to make sure they don't see that we're inking this Tamatizi. And now you're just gonna.
No, why that specifically, RMB? Why hide the Tamatoa and not hide the tech option?
Mm-hmm.
Because 2 reasons. Number 1, I want them to know that we're playing Rise of the Titans, to be scared that we're gonna blow up their castle and they're gonna get time walked. And number 2, I don't want them to know that we are inking one of our win conditions. I don't want them to know how many win conditions we have, how many we don't have. I want to hide that information.
We're so big brain, bro. So see, this is we need to be questing with guests more often, Zach Stone. We're questing out here. By the way, he did have V King Undisputed in his hand, so playing around that too. You know, all these things. These are all these things that you want to think about. It's a lot of layers to this game, and so many people like to say this game is not that deep. That? Yeah, I did. Oh, I was supposed to sing it.
You didn't sing it.
See, I wasn't even. I got a little carried away. We were supposed to sing it because we would have had it.
I think it's fine just because we drew the fishbone.
Oh. It's not.
Did you drew another fishbone?
Because if we had sang it, we would have been able to play Bell, ink, like a fishbone quill, play the other Cogsworth, which would have just set up like an absolutely broken turn next turn where we were gonna Lucky Dime.
And you can start questing Lucky Dime and Bell next turn. Yeah. Oh, okay, I see. You can't even ink anymore. You can't even play Bell. We just play.
No, you just have to like play as me. Yeah, like you're just winning over the course of the next 3 turns, no matter what our opponent does.
Yeah, the burst in this deck is we just play Lucky Dime and just call it a day, right?
Pretty much, yeah. So see, the reason that we chose to smash the snake earlier is because it was a bigger body that could challenge our board a little bit more effectively, and we knew that the Flynn was going to end up getting eaten with incidental damage anyways. Mm-hmm. So like we didn't want to waste that removal. We like. You see how like making micro decisions has implications and effects on like 4 or 5 turns from then?
Like in the future, yeah. You have to be able to play. You have to kind of be able to assume like what's going to happen a couple turns from now when I see a whole new hand or when my opponent starts setting up new characters type stuff, right? Disrespectful deck. So there you go. You guys saw it first. How to disrespect your opponent with the Sapphire Steel featuring RMB. That's gonna be the title, the title of the video. Thanks for that, man. I do appreciate you going over it a little bit in detail, like how to play the deck a little bit. There were some things that I learned just watching you kind of sequence that in terms of like your turns and how you're planning ahead. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, that was very insightful. I definitely learned a lot. I'm sure our viewers are going to learn a lot too. But I think it's time we learn a lot about you, RMB, outside of TCGs. What's a day in a life like?
I work a lot. Like realistically, I got my pup here. This is come here, Shiloh. This is Shiloh. She's my baby. She's an Australian Kelpie. So if I'm like my normal day, I like wake up, I take her out. I go to work, I cry a little bit, I come back home from work, I play Lorcana.
Smile a little bit.
I cook dinner. Like that's it. Like I hang out with RMB. I hang out with RMB. I love RMB. She's the best. She's so great. Like I said, I'm only allowed to have one hobby at a time. Mm-hmm. Right now it's Lorcana.
I'm the same way.
I'm tweeterizing. Here's the crazy thing. Lorcana brought me to Twitter. I did not have a Twitter account until like the end of February of this year. Never had a Twitter. Like I'm not really big on social media or anything like that, but like people are starting to know my name, and I feel like Twitter is probably the best space for TCGs. So like I had to do it. I had to make an account.
Yeah, no, same way. Especially right now, like it's like a big open space for all the new players. I wasn't on Twitter until Lorcana either. But yeah. We card games. Card games is like the one hobby is what it sounds like, man. And I feel like that is what it takes sometimes. In one of my other videos, I had mentioned how like I don't play Fortnite, I don't play Call of Duty, I don't have a PlayStation 5, I don't play League of Legends. Like I just don't do that. Like I literally just play Lorcana. Like it's crazy.
You just said so many buzzwords that like tickled my soul a little bit. So, League of Legends stole 8 years of my life. Call of Duty stole like 15 years of my life.
Oh,
I have a PS5 and it collects dust now. Although, to be fair, Sunday Fun Day this past Sunday, so we went and got RMB a new Switch. She wanted one of the OLED Switches. Like we used a little bit of that Mickey money and went and got her a brand new Switch. And she was like, "Do you mind if I like play my Switch?" And I was like, "Of course not." I was like, "Do you mind if I play the PlayStation?" She's like, "Of course not." And like we just casually played video games for like 10 hours Sunday. Like I played God of War Ragnarok for literally like 10 hours.
Nice. I love that.
Awesome.
Yeah. My TV broke, so it's been a minute since I've been able to play anything on that. I have a Switch, so that's like my only thing if I ever play anything. But yeah, man. Are there any? You like Beauty and the Beast? Are there any more Beauty and the Beast characters you want to see in Lorcana? Who are we missing? Disney characters in general, though. What about Disney characters in general?
God. Disney characters. So here is like the one thing that I want really bad that's probably never gonna happen is Pocahontas. Like I want. So all right, you want R&D, Ryan? You want R&D, Ryan?
Yes.
So
Show
check
us.
this out. So we need a song called "Colors of the Wind." Now this is going to be a modal song because I like modal cards. I like cards that do a lot of different things. So it is a 5-cost amber song. Now it has 6 lines on it. Stay with me here. So when you play this song, choose 2 color pairings for colors that your opponent has permanents in play for. So if your opponent has a Chernobog's followers in play and a Flynn Rider, you get to select the ruby and the amethyst. And like each of those, so if you think about it, like what they actually do is like still kind of speculative. Like we want it to be like good but not too good. Like for the amethyst, I think we can like make it like friends, like draw 2 cards. Maybe draw 2 cards is too good if it's doing something else as well. But like ruby would be like each opponent loses 2 lore. Steel would be like deal 3 damage to a character. Sapphire would be put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exerted. Like, but it's based on what your opponent's playing.
Yeah.
So like you have to pick like a really specific point in the game where your opponent has 2 different color permanents in play, and like it's going to have a different ability and a different experience every game.
Oh, okay,
depending
I get
on
it.
what,
I get it.
what you're playing. But yeah, like so like I think that would be like such a cool card design, but like that'll never happen.
That'd be cool.
It's
No,
just
yeah,
like-
like Amethyst could be like draw a card, gain 1 lore. Like you said, just 1 and 1.
just like you'd obviously have to like balance the card because we're putting it as a 5-cost song in a color pairing that has Ariel, so you can like find it off Ariel, and Ariel can also sing it. So like maybe you have to scale back some of the abilities a little bit, but I don't know. I thought it was like a really cool concept that it's based on the colors of permanents your opponent has in play. So like, oh, you're a purple deck and you like drawing cards? Guess what? My steel song is also a purple deck and drawing cards now because you got a snake in play.
I actually like that kind of design a lot. You know, like you said, R&D, the research and development side of you is definitely on there. So, Kevin likes to think of like some of like Yu-Gi-Oh cards that we know and like, and just kind of think, oh, if this was a card in Lorcana, how would it work? Is there a card like that from Magic that you can think about that you would really like to see into the game too?
I love me some Death and Taxes. So like I want to see some Hate Bears. I want to see Thalia. So Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. It is a 2-cost character. All non-character spells cost 1 more to play and 1 more to sing.
Ooh.
Non-character spells. How would that? What would be like a non-character?
It would just say like for Disney Lorcana language, it would be non-character cards cost 1 more to cast, play. Yeah.
Okay.
Like locations, actions, and items.
Yeah, anything that's
Okay,
not a
okay,
character
okay.
costs 1 more. Like imagine you like play that and like
Oof.
your opponent has to pay 2
Ooh.
for their popsicle now,
Oh
or they
no.
have to pay 3 for 1 jump ahead. And like the other thing too is it increases the cost of songs.
Yeah.
So if you've got a Maleficent in play, it can't sing Friends anymore because Friends now cost 4.
Oh. Okay. It would alter like the sing cost as well. That'd be an interesting mechanic. That's like some floodgate type stuff. I like decks like that. I like being able to tell your opponent, no, you can't play the game anymore. The same way you used to. I don't like Emerald Steel. Emerald Steel's kind of on that vibe.
Emerald Steel says you don't have ink, you don't have cards in hand, you don't get to have fun, you don't get to play the game.
Yeah.
Like all because of this stupid little squirrel. I'll be honest though, like green, I love seeing green steel. It's a wonderful matchup for blue steel. Like, send all the green steel to me. I'll take all of them.
What would you say is a harder matchup for blue steel?
Green steel is good. The mirror match is like really toxic. I don't like playing blue steel mirrors because really it just comes down to like who had the fishbone quill, who has 2 cogs worse. Like there's more RNG in that mirror match than like any other mirror match aside from like OG Amber Steel mirrors, like set 2 Amber Steel mirrors where it's like, oh, I'm on the play. I got the Cinderella, let the storm rage on. You don't get to have fun for the rest of the game. And you just like clear their stuff every single turn because you were on the play. Like blue steel mirrors are I'm not a fan of at all. I don't think that it's like a bad matchup. It's just like not very interactive. All of your removal is steel based removal, and like your opponent just plays 2 cogs worse, and it's like cool. I have no removal anymore, and then they can just turn their body sideways every single turn. Red purple, I think, is a very skill intensive matchups. There are definitely going to be some draws out of red purple that you're just never beating. Like if they're on the play and they go followers, Flynn, Sisu, Castle, and you don't have the Rise of the Titans, you just lose. Like you're just going to lose the game because they're going to get in goat bounce territory by like turn 6.
Like goat range. That's what I like to call goat range.
Goat range, exactly. Red blue, I think, is a favorable matchup for us just because like we do have the Smees. We can pressure them super early, and you can put red blue in a position where you're forcing them to answer you every single turn, so they're not advancing their game plan. And I mean, it does kind of come down to who sees dime first in a lot of situations, but like I think that blue steel is favored into red blue.
Got it. Okay, man. So, by the way, I am looking at your deck list from the Decks and Dice Lorcana 1K that you got first place at this weekend. So, in case you didn't know, that's the deck list I was going off of. Congrats, by the way, on getting first place again at another 1K. How was that experience? It looks like there was 38 players, and you're playing 61 cards. Interesting.
Yeah. So, like, I really wanted to play this. No, okay, let me rephrase that. I hate Rise of the Titans. I cannot stand that card. I don't like including that card in my lists. I don't think it's a good card. I think it's super linear. But like, you just like have to play. Like, if people are playing Castle, like you just have to play that card.
Yeah.
If your opponent plays a Castle and you don't have an answer, you just lose the game. Simple as that. Like, they're going to develop card advantage. They're going to get super far ahead in lore. Like, I don't want to play the card, but like I had to play a second one and I just couldn't make a cut. Like my cut slots were a grab your swords, one of the talas, or like one of the pieces of removal, and I'm already pushing. I'm stretching right now on removal. I have exactly 1 baboom, exactly 1 smash, and the only reason I put the smash in over the second baboom was just like having more applications. Like it banishes Ariel, it banishes Ursula, it banishes all the Mim stuff. Like it's just like having another baboom kind of like on like obviously baboom is better when you're on the draw to answer the Diablo. Smash is like reasonable on the play to answer the Diablo, but like they serve similar purposes. And then 2 Along Came Zeus and 2 Let It Goes. Like the Let It Goes are for big silly stuff like crabs. Like you need it in that matchup to get rid of a problematic card that you can't answer. And like Along Came Zeus also has application for banishing characters as well as damaging castles. Like so like there's a lot of the cards have crossover for different matchups and serve more than one purpose. But we're stretching. We're really I need to play like 67 cards, but then you just lower the consistency of what the deck's trying to do. Like I think that our green steel matchup is already favorable. I'm not going to add in tech choices for a matchup that we're already winning, but it's like you're like at that point you're just playing win more. Like that matchup is still great. Cuz like we're just if they go for the Bucky line, you just get them with the grab your swords. Like if they didn't play the Ursula to take it out of your hand, like you just get them.
Yeah. Okay.
And the fact that we can go popsicle, one jump, haram, we also don't really care about Bucky that much. Like, cool, I have to discard one card. Let me discard this tech card that's not for this matchup. And like, I'm just gonna keep inking. And eventually, like, I'm gonna be playing bigger, better stuff. Tinkerbell's gonna come down. You're not gonna be able to turn stuff sideways. Go ahead, draw all the cards that you want, put you in a position where, like, hey, I might unlock that special mill win. Sure. I think that our cards just line up really well into them.
Had a recent game where you've decked somebody out. I know that that's always fun.
All the time. All the time. If red blue gets a little overzealous and one too many haram activations, and I'm going for the triple wheel plan.
The triple wheel plan. Yep, that's the way I like that. Yeah, you can deck people. You can deck a lot of people out with this deck. That's like another alternative win condition that I for sure noticed. So would you change anything in this deck list coming up now that we have the set champs this weekend, or even like Texas? Texas is in a couple more weeks, but at least for this weekend, the first week of set champs, is there any like secret spice that you're gonna switch it up, or are you just gonna take it standard like this, like the flex spots being like the Rise of the Titans, depending how you feel about it?
Like there are a couple of different flex slots. Like Rise is a flex slot. The one of Ariel is a flex slot. The two Beast Hardheadeds are flex slots. Like there's a lot of red blue players in my area, so all 5 of those cards are like specifically good against that matchup. The Rises also have application for red purple, which red purple is super popular here. It really just kind of depends on what's predominant in your area. You also have to take into consideration like who the best players in your area are and what they're playing. Because like I will put specific cards in my deck for specific people that I know are showing up to specific events, because I know that at some point I'm gonna have to play that person to win the event, and like I want that tech card to beat that person. If there's not a lot of red blue, like you don't necessarily need to play the Ariel. She's just really really good versus red blue, because you can sit back on a diamond her and just like win over the course of 2 turns, and they can't really interact with it outside of just casting Be Prepared. She's not really that good into any of the other matchups, so like she's an easy cut. If green steel is super popular in your area, then like I would considering increasing the babooms. Like you just want to have as many opportunities to out the Diablo as humanly possible, like as early on as you can, so you keep their resources lower than average. If there's just a billion red purple players in your area, like you could consider going up to a 3rd Rise of the Titans. There's also Argus. I know Harlan Sweet's been playing Argus in the 2-drop slot as an answer for Sisu. Sisu has like a really pesky, annoying stat line to deal with since it has 4 willpower, and Argus checks the Sisu really well.
Argus, huh? Hidden Spice. Okay, who's Argus?
It's a
Argus,
4/1, right?
Yeah, he's a 2-cost 4/1.
The steel card. Yes, the steel.
Yeah, he's literally there just to check the Sisu.
The guy the guy that's on Rise of the Titans, right? I think that's one of the That's interesting. That makes sense. That makes sense. That 4/1 body, man. You know, if it needs to, if it needs to get the job done. But yeah, man, thanks for giving us the blue steel advice. You gave us a lot of perspective on how to play the deck, how to win with the deck in tournaments, and just in general, like how to play the game a little bit. I really do appreciate that you mentioned stuff like sequencing, you know, and just little key things that I think go a very long way when playing Lorcana. I think a lot of people might want to take that into consideration while they prep for their set championships this weekend. You know, do you have any final shoutouts, any final thoughts you want to leave with the Lorcana Goons squad before we let you go today, man?
Yeah, shout out Labyrinth. We've got our own YouTube channel now. Labyrinth TCG YouTube with some slashes, Labyrinth TCG. Myself and Humble have a series out right now called Lab Rats. We're actually working on the next 2 episodes, so stay tuned for those. I'm also, partaking in Lorcana After Dark. Catch us Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern. Shout out to Kevin for just being a beautiful human being. He's incredible. I remember when I saw you in Atlanta and I was like blinded for 2 reasons. Number 1, because you had like all the bling, like he's got like really, you can't tell right now, but his like jewelry like glimmers, and I'm like, oh wow. And like also I was just a little bit starstruck because like I've been watching your videos since the beginning, brother. Like literally been watching your YouTube content since the beginning. So
thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate that. I think it was on the Lorcana After Dark with Breezy. You mentioned me, you name dropped me, and you're like, oh, he was so hyped up, and I don't know why that resonated hearing you say that with me because I have a lot of energy, and I've always been told that I'm an energetic person. I've always been told to sit down and be quiet because I'm too loud. I talk too much. I talk too fast. I'm always told that, and obviously, like, you know, and but now, yeah, thank you, man. I really feel like I bring that to like the local community. Sometimes I try to bring it to the channel, and I'm really glad that I can bring it to the Lorcana space, and that people like, you know, like you and like my friends now can appreciate it. So thank you for that, man. It means a lot to me. It really does mean a lot to me. Please, guys, go follow. And then that Lab Rats video, bro, that video's dope as heck, man. You've inspired me and so many other content creators to really hop on our live gameplay videos, because super important. I love the way you guys are breaking down your hands, like the thought process of it. Yeah, man, it's a huge asset to the community right here, guys. So if you guys are not following RMB on Twitter, follow Team Labyrinth on YouTube. Please keep up with this man's Lorcana journey, because you will benefit from the knowledge that he shares, and I wholeheartedly believe that. Zach, you have any words?
No, I mean, I kind of just, you summed it up for the most part, but yeah, being like an expert in like a color combination is something that I kind of admire. I wouldn't call myself an expert in any specific color combination. I want to master them all. So, you know, I got a little bit of insight of blue steel today. Yeah, and I learned a lot, honestly. I learned a lot of stuff. And again, you know, the viewers take in everything, you know, one day at a time. It's hard to really perfect these gameplays, these technical plays. Just kind of think back on your plays too. If you notice you make a mistake, realize what your mistake was. Even write it down somewhere on your phone. Just don't forget about that mistake. You don't want to make it again. That's definitely for sure.
Progress over perfection. If your goal is to get better, progress over perfection. Don't expect perfection. Show up with a good attitude, with the idea of having a good time. Practice. Just enjoy playing some Disney princesses, man.
Heck yeah, I'm gonna enjoy playing some. I'm gonna enjoy winning some more Disney princesses, bro. And then I need to win a Disney mouse next, man. Before I let you go, I do want to mention that you know, he won a Mickey. He's a proud winner of a Mickey over here. You know, you mentioned that you have some information about how much some of them have been selling for.
Yeah, so for the ones that I've seen sold, so I have sold mine. I'm not at liberty to discuss what the price is or who the buyer was. Just know that your boy is very, very, very happy. The majority of the ones that I've seen have been ranging anywhere between like 20 to 30,000. It's been in that range. I think a lot of it's going to be dependent on whether or not they're graded. Most of the sales that I have personally seen have been raw sales. So like I graded mine. Mm-hmm. It came out a pristine 10 with CGC, which was like the grail.
Yeah.
So like I would suggest, like, if you've got them or you end up getting one, get it graded, because getting it graded is going to be the difference between, you know, a $20,000 price tag and a $50,000 price tag. But I think the sky's the limit. It's really kind of one of those things that you can get as much as someone will pay for it, realistically. If you find the right buyer, I think that some of like the, you know, like the gag numbers, like obviously number one's going to, number one, 69, 420, like those numbers are going to fetch a premium. I think like in pristine graded condition, you're talking six figures realistically.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, and no, yeah, getting a graded for sure. I did see the Beckett video they made with you. That was really cool. That was really cool, man. You got to go to the Beckett facility and everything. That's dope, man.
CGC.
Oh, CGC. Sorry, CGC. Sorry, it was CGC. Yeah. There you go. CGC.
I went and met with Matt Quinn. He's the vice president over at CGC. I got to do a tour of their facility and like see their grading room and like kind of go through the whole process, because they're only like an hour south of me down in Sarasota. So I took a drive down there one day, and man, it was absolutely incredible. Like, as someone who's not really been exposed to grading, like I didn't own any graded cards until the Mickey. Like, I didn't really know a whole lot about it. It was one of the coolest experiences. And I can definitely say that, like, I'll be going back to CGC to. I've got a lot of enchanteds, man. Like, I've got a ton of enchanteds, and I'm probably gonna end up just like bringing them all down there and just getting them all slabbed up.
Collector and a player, we'd love to see it. RMB, thank you so much for being on this episode of Quest with a Guest. You know, always, guys, stay tuned to Lorcana Goons for the more amazing content. Kevin, do you have any final words?
No, man, please go follow RMB, go follow Team Labyrinth, check out their YouTube videos, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're a Lorcana Goon, if you like this content for more, because we do these every week. We try to get the best players, the best minds in the game, talk about Lorcana, and really see what's going on. But yeah, man, good luck to you, RMB, in your set championships. Are you going to go to Fort Worth? I hope to see you at Fort Worth. If you are going to be there. Okay, so we'll be there. Well,
I gotta get a second Mickey.
There you go. See, he has to get the second Mickey, and that's the mentality that I implore most all of you viewers to have as well. You can win your set championships even if you're not playing a meta deck. I strongly believe it.